Hi there. So I'm back with you. I'm sharing from this book and actually reading it. It's called Half Time, and it's written by Buford. And I feel like I am going through halftime. And no, this has nothing to do with Kendrick Lamar in a sense. No, it's not that kind of halftime. We're talking about moving from a life that you live existentially to a life that you live purposefully. And the life that you live in your second half is not about you, your family, or your loved ones. It's about creating a legacy. It's about growing a new generation. I feel like I'm in my second half of life. You know, I didn't get my 40 acres and a mule, but God has been good to me. So as I read this, I don't know if you are feeling the same way. Maybe you need direction and you need to know your purpose because you're still just existing. So I'm going to read some more of this wonderful book, and may we find our way to our purpose. Again, this is not my book. I am not claiming copyrights. Copyrights is for the author and whomever he gave credit to. The author of this book is Buford, okay? Listen on. I will occasionally interrupt to say a quick yeah. The hour of reverse conversion. Let me say that again. If this didn't hit you, something's wrong. Let it hit you. The hour of reverse conversion. Some Christians know the precise moment of their conversion, the day of the week, the hour, the minute, the second, nanosecond, boom. In the twinkling of an eye, something happened and they were changed, born again, forgiven, saved. That's not my story. I report this with neither regret nor pride. I was given the gift of faith at such an early age that I don't remember ever living without it. Wow. I have gone through my life with questions, to be sure, and the typical confusion about certain theological and doctrinal formulations. But I have never doubted God. I have always believed that Jesus is who he said he is. I didn't achieve the state of trust and blissful assurance on my own. I think I didn't seek out the Lord. My unshaken faith is a gift from the Lord who found me. So I can't recount a dramatic or emotional turning point in my spiritual development, save for a surprising reverse conversion experience I had at the age of 14. at which time I abandoned the notion I had of becoming a clergyman. Although in no way did I renounce my personal faith or commitments. By my adolescence years, my family had moved from Oklahoma to Tyler, Texas, in the piney woods on the eastern side of the Lone Star State. My father, who was a hard drinking hunter and Oklahoma State skeet shooting champion, had died when I was in the fifth grade. Before we moved to Texas, I don't remember a great deal about him, although I do recall that he drank his whiskey straight from the bottle, in a manner I was sure to learn later all too common during those post-war days when Ernest Hemingway was writing great American books and rugged American men thought themselves to be tempered, tough, and indestructible. My father was not indestructible. He left a young widow and 3 small boys, and together we carried on. My mother continued running the radio station in Oklahoma for a brief time, and then we headed to Tyler to purchase and operate a radio station there. My mother suddenly, on her own, developed into a visionary, a successful media business executive. She filed an application for a license to operate the first television station in Tyler, competing against the owner of the local newspaper and against most prominent philanthropic family in town, whose business, of course, was oil. The odds against her were daunting. She was a widow, alone, and relatively new in town, while the family of the local oil tycoon provided money and leadership for virtually every community, charity, and cause. And in nearby Dallas, the 3 television licenses had been granted to the owners of the area's newspapers. Meanwhile, my mother had to go to a court in Summit County, Texas, to have her disabilities removed. At that time, in the early 1950s, state law prevented women from executing and signing contracts without their husband. Oh, wow. Unless a court declared them femme sole. What? Okay. A legal designation that literally means woman alone. Oh, but despite the odds and in the face of considerable cultural roadblocks, my mother persevered and was granted the license to operate KLTV in October of 1954. Excuse me, I'd like to mark it. The L stood for Lucille, my mother's first name. Her determination and doggedness provided an important lesson for me, giving me an example of a candle, a can do spirit and belief. At an early age, I came to believe that I too could accomplish almost anything through hard work and persistence. My mother, who subsequently remarried twice with lamentable lock of times, lived for her business interests and her children. When she took me in bed at night, she didn't read Dr. Seuss books or Winnie the Pooh adventures. Instead, she taught me about balance sheet, depreciation schedules, and advertising sales strategies. And when she applied for the television station license, she told the Federal Communication Commission that she was seeking to acquire a station in the hope that her children would one day run the business. My mother, single-mindedness and dedication produced both excitement and tension within me. A titanic internal tug of war between leading a life of success in business and leading a life of service in ministry. I would not fully resolve this tension for decades, but I made a decisive turn at the age of 14. I remember the moment with crystal clarity, the same way some people remember every detail of circumstances surrounding their conversion experience or where they were when they learned President John F. Kennedy had been shot. Mail. My moment of vocational transformation took place in Miss Mitty Marsh ninth grade English class in Hogg Junior High School. Mitty Marsh was a legend in Tyler during my youth. She and her sisters, Minnie and Sarah, taught in the public school in town and lived in a plantation-style mansion on South Broadway, the main street on which high school students cruised in their cars on Friday and Saturday night. Mitty Marsh and her sisters set the standard for academic rigor in Tyler. They were the mentors who warned you, if you don't get it right, you won't get into the college you want to go to. I was seated in the second row on the far left side of the classroom. To get this, I am still not certain what prompted the decision, but it was in that spot, that pow, I somehow knew instantly that preaching, baptizing, marrying, and burying was out and making money as a TV executive was in. I had made a clear-headed teenage decision to put myself in the driver's seat of a turbocharged car. Of course, clear-headed and teenaged are two terms rarely seen on the same page, much less linked in the same cause. And television, then in its early infancy, scarcely looked to be a serious threat to the long-established American entertainment habits of reading, conversing, and listening to the radio. But what did I know? I was just in junior high, barely blossoming into the spring of my life. The world of business, and particularly the new and exciting technology of television, appeared to be a fabulous sport with greater drama and spoils than I could imagine. And quite frankly, I wanted to be the guy who stepped to the plate and slug the game winning home run in the bottom of the ninth inning. Decisive, heroic. It was a momentous choice that would pave the way for the season still to come. I still love the spirit of television business, the competition, the strategies, the conquests. One executive I knew who later committed suicide called business the world's greatest sport. I know exactly what he meant because I too once found it indescribably exhilarating to measure the competition, to run up the score, to win. I still find it enlightening and living it. I don't know what is that word. Enlivening, enlivening to be a player of consequence. As well, I believe that human organizations provide the best learning environment and greatest intellectual challenge, much more so than memorizing facts from a book. What we learn formally is best enhanced through experience. And my experience in television business has taught me a great deal about what it takes to be a winner in the success game. But now I realize that there are other games played on many fields. And I've learned that there are ways to win beside dominating, rating race, and piling up the score through increased market shares or burgeoning profits. That valuable lesson was disclosed to me, as perhaps it already has been, or likely will be one day to you, slowly, through uncomplicated attention, pain, and the simple seasoning of the passages of life. It began to sink in my heart and seep into the space where my decisions were being made in significant ways. About 2 decades ago, when I was doing great things in business and little less, it was the genesis of a steady and thoughtful re-examination of the stunning reverse conversion experience that had come to me in a flash in that junior high school classroom where clear-headed dreams were launched in the fog of youth. I began to think about what I would do, about what I believed.